podcast, where we dive into the future of culture, tech, and community in the digital age. I'm your host, Stilo, a producer, recording artist, and a Web3 enthusiast. Here we're exploring the evolving world of the blockchain, AI, NFTs, and metaverse concerts. We're bringing you visionary chats with awesome creators who are building and shaping the way of tomorrow. And the digital economies. So, whether you're in the music scene, in the tech space, or just curious about the next wave of innovation, you're in the right place. So, let's get into it. Today, we're with Haley Cromer, and I got the pleasure of meeting Haley in Web3 through the metaverse and all the events going on and digital activations. So great to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to share some knowledge with us.
Of course. Yeah, it was awesome getting to know you. And we had a great after party for the last conference that we made with the last project that I was with. And it was super fun. You brought so many cool people and introduced us to a whole new world, which is awesome.
Yeah, and thank you. That was a great collaboration. We threw a concert and raised awareness about that project. So I noticed that you've been really busy. You've been traveling, you've been on the forefront of the blockchain and around a network of people that are really doing things. So can you share your experience, how your travels have been this last year since I've last seen you?
Yeah, so I started with a new project, CrossFi. We're in L1. So we are our own proprietary blockchain on Cosmos Network with an EVM component as well. So the Cosmos part is already live on mainnet, but now we're finishing the EVM part, which should be live in like the next month or so. So it's a really exciting time for us. But more importantly, what we've created on top of the blockchain that is super cool is that we have a Visa card that's actual physical card that allows you to transform crypto into fiat at real time, and it works in 120 countries. It is super exciting. People can use it anywhere. You can use it online, Amazon, rideshare. You can use it in person, so you can buy realistically anything. If there's any POS terminal, you can do tap, swipe, chip. So it's cool that we have that Visa card. We also are working on a partnership with MasterCard. We applied to their crypto and digital assets and blockchain track for their startup path, which is really cool. We'd like to have one of those cards as well. So we're really excited about that product. And then our app that allows for you to have like full non-custodial ownership over your funds. So you just load it up like a prepaid card with no limits, and you can spend it on relatively anything, which is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, sorry. No, I was going to get into the traveling part. So ever since I joined CrossFi, we launched this card in Vietnam. So I first went to Vietnam. That was super cool. It was like a marriage, if you will, because they're our biggest stakeholders. Vietnam has a big unbanked population, which is what we target, is people that have trouble kind of getting with traditional banking. And I always tell people, like, in the United States, that it wasn't so long ago. It was really the 60s where women couldn't even have access to a debit or a credit card. So this is really like still a new thing. If you think about it, they're a little bit more behind than we are, but that's kind of where our main community is. And then I went to a couple conferences. I did Money 2020 in Amsterdam. I went to another blockchain conference in Paris. Then we did a hackathon at ETH Toronto and ETH Women for Blockchain Futurist in Canada. And then next week, now I'll be at Token 2049 in Singapore. So definitely getting the full international relations going here, checking out new markets and trying to see kind of where we fit in with everything, meeting a lot of really amazing people, developers, and other, projects, of course, for B2B partnership, and just trying to scale this next growth period as we get into our mainnet.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm a huge fan of EVM. I'm a huge fan of Cosmos as well.
Nice.
For me, I love the tech of EVM where you can, within the blockchain, whatever project it might be,
Mhm.
it's you can pay for anything digitally, an asset or a collectible. Where if you
Mhm.
have Atom, you can buy it even if it's for sale in Cosmos. You can right if and so for me for the audience, can you explain a little bit about the EVM like technology? I did it pretty pretty hard, pretty rough, but maybe you can smooth it out for me and for us.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, EVM, the reason why it's so popular is because there's tons of Ethereum developers, right? And Ethereum kind of monopolizes a lot of the Web3 world. They're a really big player in terms of a blockchain. So being able to add kind of that EVM component and utilize, which is the Ethereum virtual machine, their machine or engine to make it work, allows people to be able to develop with things that they're familiar with. So like MetaMask, Solidity, coding language, which makes it really easy for onboard of developers onto a new project. Cosmos is can be a little bit more difficult. However, there's a lot less traffic. There's a lot better transaction processing speeds when you get into the finance side of things. So having both of them, you get kind of the best of both worlds. So that's like an Evmos chain is powerful because you get kind of the less congestion of the Cosmos, but then developer onboarding is really easy. So you can easily build out a full ecosystem with people that are really comfortable building dApps on Ethereum to come over to your chain and then be able to build them on a new chain. So it's kind of this mix of both to make it really easy for the products to run smoothly and well, and for the fees to be a lot lower, the process to be a lot quicker, and congestion to be not as high, but then also you can allow people to easily learn how to develop on them without having to learn too many new developing languages.
Wow, thank you. That's incredible. It's interesting because I came from a purchasing standpoint, and I love that you came from the back end. And thank you so much for explaining that. And also, like going to Vietnam, like take it back to Vietnam. I didn't know that they were the most unbanked country. And but I do know that everyone has a cell phone there. Everyone is operating.
It's crazy. And you think about it because there's so many countries where they're just so first world and they have so much privilege that they don't even realize, I guess, that they're being manipulated in a way to never have access over their own funds. And they can walk down to, Bank of America or Chase Bank and use these big banks, and they put all their stuff in a security box, and they have hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of assets that have been passed down for generations in these boxes, and then they can be closed at any time if the bank just decides that we have sanctions or we have a war, or for some reason they see your profile and it looks like it could be suspicious and they get to choose. It's not fair. But when you have things like blockchain technology and this non-custodial aspect, you really have power over your own funds. And it's crazy that in these countries that we would consider to be less developed, they have not had that ease of getting money or credit cards or loans. So then they figure out how to become so much more technical. They have Wi-Fi, so all of a sudden they become these blockchain experts, and it's just a form of them finding liquidity because they can't just go down the street and get it. So I think it's amazing that there's so many people in the Western world that don't, like, if you ask a grandparent or a parent, they're so unfamiliar with blockchain, and it's because everything's just been handed to them and not always in the right ways, because I don't think they realize that how much control the government and the big banks have over their finances. So it's a funny time in history because you have these countries that are less developed, but then they actually have more control over their own assets for the first time because they've figured out how to lean into blockchain, because everything isn't just as easily accessible.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And traveling the world, I'm sure that you firsthand. It's incredible that you've experienced it, seen it, and you're here to talk about it and share. I'm a huge believer of the blockchain. I can't wait to see it like become a lot more seamless and not so daunting as far as like making a transaction with MetaMask. But I know it's coming, and there are huge companies using it right now, and we don't even know it. Starbucks being one of them. So we know they use Polygon for their reward program. So yeah, let's see what happens. I want to see what Cosmos can do. I love the blockchain. I love the projects on there. I'm a fan of another project called OmniFlix on there on that blockchain. So yeah. So you went to a couple events. You went to like You said Canada.
Mhm.
Okay. How is that? What event was that? How was it?
So that was Blockchain Futurist, was the conference, and then they also kind of paired up with ETH Toronto and ETH Women to hold the hackathon portion. So they were kind of like a three in one. I went with my counterpart. His name is Philip. He's our chief growth officer, so he kind of handles all the growth aspects of our project and how we can scale it kind of at this high frequency time for CrossFi, and then I handle DApp relationships. So he spoke on the main stage, which was great. He gave a great talk. You can find it on YouTube on the live stream for Blockchain Futurists on day one. You'll see, and it was great, exposure for CrossFi as well. And he talked about mass adoption. So if you're really interested in seeing kind of where crypto can go in the future, he gave a great talk about mass adoption and bringing Web3 to 1 billion users, which was awesome. And then on the upper stage, I kind of handled the hackathon portion. So I introduced our bounties. I gave a talk on that about how to get involved in our hackathon. We did an in-person sprint there at ETH Toronto and ETH Women. And then we continued it on for the month. So it's still ongoing until we close it out at Token 2049 next week. So we'll get everything turned in by the 19th. So we already have 46 applications that came in person at ETH Toronto. And then we have, I think, 280-ish people that we've accepted to turn in their projects up until this September 19th for the virtual
Wow.
extension. So I did that. And then I spoke on a developer panel with three other gentlemen who come from a variety of backgrounds. About, I think one was on Polygon chain, and then another one was, gosh, I can't remember, maybe, no, it wasn't, but that one hasn't come out live, so I haven't seen this stream. I have to be reminded. It's so funny, such busy at these conferences that I can't even remember what we talked about. I actually got pulled onto that panel very last minute, but so that'll be probably on the YouTube for Blockchain Futurists in the next couple of days. They've posted most, and this was one of the later ones, so it
Hmm.
should be coming. But that was a developer panel just about, yeah, where from a developer aspect or developer relations or developer evangelist aspect, where we saw kind of the transition of blockchain going, ease of different, programming languages versus chains versus engines, kind of the ease of transactions, the ease of building, and this, I guess, transection of decentralized finance, traditional finance, and being able to onboard new developers into the overall ecosystem, as well as kind of a intersectionality aspect for being chain agnostic and working with different chains and interoperability as well. So we did a talk there. Yeah, so there's two parts: the introduction on my half, and then also Philip, who presented on behalf of Crossfire, which was the hackathon bounty introduction, a developer panel, and then a speech about Crossfire and the growth of Web3 in general to get it
And
to mass adoption and 1 billion users.
and can you like explain to us what a hackathon is?
Sure, yeah. So
Just super simple.
yeah, I mean, in our case, it's kind of an extension or like a marketing ploy on our ongoing grant program. So, Crossfit, we have a foundation arm, which is basically this big pool of funds that we've created within between us and partners to be able to incentivize developers to build layer two software technology known as dApps or decentralized applications on top of the Crossfit layer. So what this would look like is something like a CrossFi NFT platform or a play to earn game, similar like you've seen with some of those Telegram play to earn games. SocialFi, infrastructure projects like Deepin, also maybe some.
And what's your like top if you could name
Yeah,
out of all those, what are your like top two favorite types of projects?
I mean, when you work with a project, right, from a business standpoint, you want to see the project do well, especially when you have a live and traded token, which we do, which is XFI. It all comes down to like the utility of both XFI, which is our token, and then
And how
also
do you
the
spell
total
that?
value locked. XFI.
Okay. Thank you.
It's live and traded on Pancake Uniswap for decentralized exchanges, and then also for centralized exchanges, it's on QB Exchange and MEXC. But yeah, so basically you want to do things that help the total volume of XFi and then also the utility of it. So something like a wallet, a yields protocol, a staking protocol, those are really big ones. So I'd say the DeFi is great, or a really addictive game is
Hmm.
another one. So something that gets people incentivized to use it, and then some way that XFi is embedded into the game is some kind of gamification. That's how they buy, I don't know. So take Fortnite, for example. They have their own like in-game assets. So you can change like your skin, or your get some additional like weapons, etc., beyond the base level there. So that would be something that's super addictive. And if your currency was what was fueling a game that becomes that popular, that would also be something really huge for a project. Me personally, of course, I'm interested in a lot of projects beyond what makes money. It's or gets us to a better growth stage. I'm really interested in data analytics platforms, things that help people make better decisions when trading, AI, any kind of like no or low code platform that allows developers to have an ease of onboarding and build more dApps quicker. So it might not be something that makes as much money with the token up front, but it does help with that speed, or like techno. I call it like the robotic war, right? Where we start um, changing the efficiency in that we're building. So I always am excited about those kind of projects. But in general, I think if you're looking to be part of a hackathon, the founder or the project or the ecosystem is looking for something that's going to draw the most amount of utility and volume for their coin or their project.
Awesome. So, like, I know you come from like a really deep art background. What got you into this space, and how did you what inspired you to get into like the developer relations, and what's yeah.
Yeah, so I think, artists also have this, artists, creators, builders are kind of all in the same boat in that they like to imagine things in their head and see them come to life. So whether that be, music or art or a project or an application, I think that the ability, or being a writer, having the ability to envision something that other people can't see or that doesn't exist and bring it to life is very powerful. Um, I think I have that background, and I always have since I was a child. I've loved to build things. I love puzzles. I like, you know, putting missing pieces together. I like seeing connections that other people don't see. So having this ability to kind of put this all together along with like a blockchain background has helped me dive into developer relations. I find it a lot more exciting than the programming side, because rather than building my own projects and selling them, stand off as kind of an entrepreneur, I get to work with so many different projects and introduce them to each other and see how they all kind of work in sync with each other. I get to again find like those missing puzzle pieces and help people bring their projects to life. So I think it's awesome to be able to work with creators, and I think builders and creators can be, used interchangeably, because I think that creators are creating something, builders are creating something, and creators are also building an idea, if you will. So I think that that's how like the art part comes to fruition, and I think that yeah, it's been really rewarding getting to meet all these different creative people all around the world that have these ideas, and helping them get the resources or their funding to make them come to life, which is awesome. I have the best job in the world, because people come to me with ideas, and I get to give them the funds or give them what they need to see it happen, which is great.
Hmm. Wow, that's a great explanation. I couldn't agree more. As artists, we do imaginate, we create, we're always, dreaming, in a great way. So, yeah, so to the next question, I wanted to know what your thoughts on AI, like, do you use AI, daily, and like, what kind of intersection do you see AI maybe happening with CrossFi, or, the blockchain technology?
Yeah, I mean, we already use AI a lot in Crossfire. We have dApps that use AI. I use AI daily to help me with strategic planning, to help me, work through ideas or break things down. I train AI a lot in our own LLMs and models to become more of an expert in CrossFi. We have a multilingual team that is based all over the world. So we train it in different languages so that we can speak to each other and use the bot as an intermediary, which is amazing. I don't think I could. It's so crazy because it's like now I use it so often that it's hard to live without it. But I also think that it really is a skill when people say like, oh, is the AI going to replace our jobs? And there's something that I used to work in robotics very briefly with humanoid, like android robots. And I think that being able to be like this robotics or AI, artificial intelligence is a little bit different than robotics. But I think when you work in AI and you're able to operate it and be like this liaison between you and the computer, right? And train it and ask it the right questions, because not everyone can jump on ChatGPT and ask it something and get the same answer. I think that it really is a skill to be able to manipulate the question asking to get the most reliable and accurate data, or also to get the type of answers that you're looking for. But I think that it really is helping the entire efficiency of the revolution on technology and how we use it. And I think that not only, I don't think that it will replace jobs, but I think that the more people that are able to utilize them will be that much ahead, because there's such a small population that is already using AI. And if you're able to, it's like somebody getting into a new job and one of them has access to Google and the other one doesn't. I would assume that the person that has access to be able to use the internet and Google would perform a lot more efficiently and a lot better. So I think we're at that stage that if you aren't using AI, you should learn, and it will only really help you in your career and in your growth, and really kind of expedite whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. I think that there is kind of an ethical standpoint when it comes to AI, and I really hope that we don't make the same mistake that we did like in the 90s with the internet that now we're trying to solve with Web3, where it becomes like a concentrated power where this data or the information that is being fed into the artificial intelligence models isn't reliable or isn't sourced ethically. So I think that you can dive into a lot of different topics regarding the AI itself and where the data comes from, and you might start seeing a lot of different AI models behave differently. So, or with like a political backing, right? And that's kind of what media has done too. That the censorship on Instagram is different than Facebook, is different than TikTok, is different than X or Twitter. So once you start seeing more AI chatbots or products come to life, as there you might notice that maybe the way that they speak to you or the language model in which they respond is a little bit different from one another. And then I think that it'll, now that we're in the stage of finding this like universal truth where we have all this data and information at like the snap of a finger in milliseconds, to start trying to figure out how it's sourced, where it's sourced from, and how reliable it is. I already do think that it is more reliable than like a Google search, because that has a lot to do with like marketing dollars and SEOs off the bat. But now we have to figure out where the business into this is going to come, and how that information is being spitted out and why. And so I think that it's, you should use it. Should you trust it from a big like world view? I don't know. I think that's something that we still have to discover. But I think that in terms of work and daily life and efficiency, it can make your productivity levels really soar.
Yeah, I definitely love that. Like, I remember using ChatGPT 2 years ago or a year and a half ago when it first came out,
Mhm.
and it wasn't live, like connected to the internet. So you would get a lot of answers that were dated from like 2020 and prior from all the data it scraped. Now it's completely live, and it's so much fun to ask about, like, hey, who am I? Tell me about myself. And it scrapes the internet, like any blogs, like anything you've done, and it's like, boom, there it is. So it's super dope. Uh, I'm so grateful to have met you. I'm really looking forward to what you have coming and what you're doing. Um, I know I don't want to take too much of your time, but like, just a couple more questions. What do you think we can do about to encourage and kind of normalize the evolution of like DeFi and just a different finance here in the West.
The West is probably the most complicated, but not for. I think it is for
What
the
like
wrong reason.
what do you think it would take, for people to be like, okay, I need to do this? I mean, we know there's a digital dollar. We know there's a digital wallet. Like things are coming.
Right.
Like you go to the DMV, everything's digital, digital ID. So it's coming.
hmm I think that the West specifically lives in a little bit of a bubble just because they have this ease, like I mentioned a little bit before. But I think, and I'd hate to put this out there, but I think with the election coming up, especially in the United States, this is going to make a lot of people open their eyes to this either way, just because it'll be really different depending on who wins that election. I think any kind of polarity or civil war or world war would definitely make people really understand what's going on if they pay attention to the types of sanctions that we already have with stuff like, Russia or Iran, you would start to really realize why this could be an amazing tool. The same way that when wars happen, the price of gold goes through the roof because people hold to it as like a form of safety. And I think when you start to see these things happen and the sanctions that pop up, if we were to have anything go wrong, we're really blessed in that it's been a long time since we've seen something like that. But of course, again, this politics are cyclical the same way that the blockchain is cyclical, in that it's not always perfect peace on earth. And then when you see these things start to happen, I mean, we have, a war with Russia and Ukraine. We have a war in the Middle East right now, in Gaza. And when you start to see these things and have people start clinging to natural resources, or when, the home base gets involved, which with our election coming up and certain things that could be very different depending on which candidate wins, and I'm talking specifically in America, which is in 2 months. So this could bring, I think, a lot of light to why people are in blockchain, why people are holding onto cryptocurrency as a more safe form of an asset. If you start tracking, the dollar versus the euro versus the pound, and you start kind of seeing these graphs and charts, you might find that the crypto isn't as volatile as you think, or you might realize that you're into real world assets like maybe, I don't know, silver or gold or jewelry. Or so there's a lot of things that I think can influence the way that people see. But like I said, there hasn't ever been really a time where the banks have taken enough advantage of the people in the Western world. But if you date it back to like World War II or the Holocaust, there was banks shutting down and holding people's funds everywhere. And to people that are new in this generation, they haven't had to face that for a long time, or something like COVID, where people had a lot of assets locked. And I think during COVID, more people got funds than they had funds taken away. But if we saw that on the inverse, where then all of a sudden now people are having like collateral lockup of things that they have, or being shut down, or like their security box can't be accessed, or we have more sanctions with different countries, they'd really realize why they'd want to get into blockchain and have full autonomy over their funds and their assets when they start to lose trust in a system that they've been trusting for so long.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely, something, something. There's a big change happening. Something's happening
Mhm.
right now, and it's definitely we definitely need to do our research and really see what's going on with our relationships around the world. So,
And USA and Canada are so behind because
yeah,
you go to Europe and they have licensing, they have specific people that are able to operate like banks do when it comes to crypto. The tax incentives are better. Places like Dubai are a haven for crypto, and you'll realize that I don't know why USA and Canada are so controlling. I think that they haven't figured out exactly what's going on in this world, and they want to know how to have a piece of it, and they don't want to make the ask before they understand it because they don't want to come in too low. But it's really crazy thing to think that you start to realize how much control the governments have in USA and Canada specifically, because they're so it's such a gray area in crypto, and you'd wonder why they usually swing either left or right in everything they do. So why are they choosing to wait so long when Europe and other countries are moving at a lot quicker pace? So I think they're still trying to figure it out and understand where they stand because they just don't understand it. And I think that if we had more politicians that were involved or had advisors that were involved, they'd see it, understood a lot better. But I can't really predict what will happen. But I do know that, depending on who our candidates are and depending on the way that the election goes, especially in the United States, it's going to be pretty opening for a lot of people in the next, 4 years for us. So,
Wow. Thank you so much. It's been incredible just getting
mhm,
to know all that like valuable information, the value that you've been sharing with us. I wanted to ask you, what this is like open question. What do you think about the when if someone were to ask you, what do you think about the the internet, the
mhm,
metaverse,
mhm,
and finance? Like, what
sure.
do you see happening in virtual worlds? If you could just, maybe envision, just your thoughts. What do you see happening in the next 3 to 5 years within like virtual worlds, ecosystems, and finance?
Yeah. I mean, I think in general, we're just at such a crazy point in time that the world has really never seen. And the internet has been such a tool for people to connect and do business and have their own like financial ownership from anywhere in the world. I think that the internet is not only now a great communication tool between people from anywhere, but also a way for you to hold your funds, have access to your own funds, manage them. The metaverse is a place where you have like this real life um, simulation where you can talk to people from anywhere. You can kind of disrupt everything that kept us separate for as long as we could imagine, right? And it's crazy because first there was, electricity and trains, and then there was air transport, and this is how you could get from one place to another. And now you don't need to even go there. You can be on your computer, you can meet with somebody in the metaverse, you can call them on Google Meet or on Zoom or on Skype, and you're able to now speak and communicate, do business, talk about finance to anyone from anywhere in the world. And that's why we're seeing so many people become like what we call digital nomads, where they can work on their laptop. They can kind of basically break every rule that everybody thought with like what came about being a 9 to 5 owner. And we're seeing young people do it for the first time and living lives as if they're retired and traveling and really using their brain and their laptop, which is kind of this robotic arm to an extension of your humanness to, create income, access your finances, manage your finances, invest at younger and younger ages, research like you didn't have before. Even if you did have a salary, you worked in a warehouse, right? You made some money, you saved it up for 20 years, and you're looking to invest in the stock market. You have to go through a financial advisor, you have to trust them. There's horror stories, and now for the first time you do it on your own. And I think it really is this crazy time where people can have full financial freedom, and not just that, full regional freedom,
Social, yeah.
where there's, yeah, and even social, they can talk to people from all over the world. And people are starting to realize that we're not really so different. The world has just been too far apart, and now we're creating all these means, not just transportation wise, but electronically, to be able to help us, feel more united, which I think is great because it brings us one step closer to peace and understanding, kind of that we're all human. We all are people of this earth, and we have similar interests. We're just kind of broken down by our governments or our locations, and now we don't have that same communication barrier that we did before. And now with AI and translator tools, we can really just speak to anyone and understand anyone, which is amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, I agree with you. I have a friend. She's building an omniverse city, and when she does populate it and everything, I definitely do see brands saying, "Hey, I want some space in there.
Yeah.
I need an employee to work there." I do see someone going in there with their avatar looking for a
Mhm.
job. We do need moderators and hosts at these digital stores, in different locations. So yeah, I agree. All it does is extend our brand and create, a connection. Um,
I
so
love the metaverse. It can defy the the space and time quantum and quantum computing, all of these things. You can kind of defy the forces of space and time, and it's almost like you have this limitless amount of land, and now we're just trying to figure out how to compute for it, which is crazier, how to make it more efficient and quicker. But we can now explore things that don't even exist in our own world, which has never been done before. So I think the component of metaverse is amazing, and I think there's a lot that you can do with it. And if we can figure out how to have the right amount of storage and compute, it might be where we our beings or our spirits are held after we're gone, which is the first thing that's ever existed, that you can have kind of this component of yourself
yep,
still on earth, when besides like a sculpture in a museum, right, you have this kind of talking and communicating version of yourself that can exist even if you die, which
totally.
is great. I think the metaverse is truly amazing, and it's changing the way that the people can see like life in itself.
Did you know that you can connect your ChatGPT to an avatar? And you can go up to it and it will speak in your voice and answer questions the way that you speak and everything right now.
No, it's
Isn't that crazy?
fantastic. And I think for people that have lost loved ones too, to be able to have that closeness is is amazing. That you can, imagine losing someone really close to you, and then being able to go into the metaverse and have a conversation, and it's like they're still there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because there's like Call of Duty, NBA 2K, and those are metaverses.
Mhm.
They're a gaming, but they're just doing something different. And for me, I think like there's something about like the term metaverse. Like for me, it gives me like a social, communal like aspect, to gaming. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's interesting. We'll see where it goes. Um, can we do a show in the metaverse? Can Haley Hyperpop do a concert with Dope CeeLo in the metaverse?
Sure, why not?
In like 6 months, we sell tickets and pack it out.
Let's do it.
Cool. Yeah. All you need is your desktop. So,
Yeah.
yeah, and then we need to do a song together.
Okay. Yeah,
So,
let's do it.
I'll,
I'll invite the people. We'll invite our Vietnamese community to come in and show them the metaverse,
nice. We can have a
and
big Crossfire banner.
yeah. Awesome. Yeah, they'll love it. I think it'll be great. And our CrossFi team has all kinds of talented individuals. We have a lot of artists. We have a lot of producers. So I think we could do a whole
Festival.
maybe exist a festival. Yeah, it'll be
Dope.
fun.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome, Haley. Well, great chatting with you. I feel like we really got to know who you are. You have a beautiful insight, a pure insight for the blockchain, for human social advancement with finance, control, power, awareness. So, thank you for being you. Thank you for being a strong woman in this space and pioneering.
Of course. No, and thank you so much for having me. I think it's awesome. I love any chance that I can to talk about what I do. Like I said, I got into this space by accident, really, and I just have been obsessed, and I never want to leave. I work way too many hours a day, and I wouldn't want it any other way.
Nice. Man, I'm so honored to have you. We just started this podcast. It's the third one, so it's a little rough. Sorry for
Oh,
the intro, and we're still working with some stuff here, but we got some heavy hitters coming. We got Tim
nice.
McToke from Ready Player Me. We got Jake Steinerman from
Awesome.
Spatial. We got Jerome Jordan, a DJ, NBA basketball player turned DJ. He's talking about the blockchain and music. We're gonna have some
Great.
really dope guests, and yeah, man. So thank you for being here, and it's been great.
Amazing. I wouldn't expect anything less than dope from a dope studio.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
All
Thanks for
right.
having me.
Have a
Have a
great
great day.
one.